Oftentimes when we're on these sort of shoots, we have to use our vehicles to help to tow some vehicles. Like, for example, this has towed, I think, Ryan Turk's Formula Supra, the all-carbon one, and so many other historic vehicles. Now we're gonna tow this Blazin Rodz insane Chevelle. We're gonna use a front hitch, but part of it is because they had to build this bridge just to get it out. It's that wide. It doesn't even fit in this trailer. It's 88 inches wide. I told them they need a bigger trailer. Look at this guy.
How you doing?
A challenger has appeared.
I see that. I'm here to help you out.
Yeah. Hook up your truck and just pull the whole front end off of the thing.
You gotta do the B-more pull-out special,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Full throttle,
right?
breaknecks. This thing's rad.
Yeah, this thing's rowdy.
You about to shoot this?
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot this. As soon as I pull it out, I'm about to shoot it,
yeah.
and it's gonna go into the show.
Nice. Perfect.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
That was insane.
It's still insane. I don't know how we're here.
I didn't think I would be able to pull this thing out of the trailer, but you guys built a vehicle that is a little too wide for your trailer.
Yeah, we were thinking about building a trailer next. We just ran out of time.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to dig into because there's just so much going on. It has such a presence. What was the original idea behind this build?
So the original idea was we were gonna build just a regular Chevelle, right? And we opened up this new shop called Blazin Rodz, and I'm like, we can't just build something basic. You know, we gotta go over the top. We gotta make this thing as crazy as we can do it in a year. So we all kind of sat down, we jogged down some ideas, you know, what we all thought would be the best thing for the car. And to be honest, the whole aspect, there's a lot of build on the car, and the whole aspect of the build actually started with the rear of the car, I'd say.
What did this start life as?
So it's a 1970 Chevy Chevelle. So we tried to incorporate as much of the original style points. Like if you look at the rear bumper, it still has that OEM style. So yeah, you can see that this still represents like the factory bumper, but obviously this is all 3D printed. The whole bumper's 3D printed. As well as the taillight housings. There's so much that went into this car, it's insane.
It's just so much wider, 88 inches. How much wider is that than stock?
I believe it's 7 or 8 inches wider, something like that.
On each side.
All in all, I want to say, right?
Yeah, about
it's
seven
not
and a half.
that much wider. It just looks wider, but a Chevelle's already really wide. You know, it's a big car. They're like land yachts. So wide body, a land yacht, you're like, whoa, bro, how do we get in the trailer?
Yeah, how you grab the aspect of how the car looks so wide is like the rear quarters, they're actually sunk in farther than factory. So this whole panel is back, I would say probably, what, 2 inches, 2.5 inches sucked in, and then the body brought out. So with those two corresponding, they makes the car look even wider.
There's so many crazy design elements. I know the exhaust is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like, what is going on here?
That's 3D printed. That's a 3D printed stainless steel exhaust tip. This is actually just a press broke stainless steel piece. We put a brake in it just to kind of do like a contour change for light. The downpipe coming off the turbo is all 3D printed stainless steel. The whole kind of thing with this car was Wiggins clamps everywhere. So if you notice, this is a Wiggins clamp, but it is not a actual Wiggins clamp. That's actually 3D printed titanium. We had to buy a Wiggins clamp to jack the clasp there and rivet it on, but yeah, it's all, everything you're looking at right here is 3D printed. This is 3D printed. It's all divorced. This is actually one piece right here. Take a circle to a square. But if you put your finger inside there, there's nothing. It's not merging, it's not blending.
But it's crazy that this is part of the design element, right? It being the rocker.
Yeah. Straight deleted the rocker. Rocker is the exhaust, so you'll have no calves after driving it, but yeah.
This is just, there's so much going on here.
These are 3D printed inner fenders. They also act as the intake for the turbos. This whole inner fender, this is a tube that goes all the way through. It's a 6-inch diameter that lofts in to feed the turbo. So if you look down over here, it's just directly over it. We're running no air filter, but we don't really need to in something like this anyways.
What is this motor package?
It's a 540 big block, Brodix aluminum block. Big Brody heads with a lot of customness going down. Pretty much everything you're looking at here we created, down to the breathers, valve covers. These fuel rails are integrated into the intercooler ports. Made all this, right? So it's dual drive-by-wire, 82mm Bosch throttle bodies. Coolant expansion tank also integrates the fuel return. So if you notice, there's two weld-on fuel regulators on the car. But if you look down in here, this tube carries fuel, returns back into another fuel. Return fuel rail is what we call it, which sounds ridiculous, like word jargon, but it's pretty cool. Most people probably won't notice. They'll be like, why is there a radiator cap and there's 2 fuel regulators, you know? But yeah, it just bypasses, everything's divorced.
This valley is just insane.
It's pretty wild. If you look down in there, there's actually ducts, right? So underneath the front splitter, we actually have a carbon fiber diffuser as well underneath the splitter. Grabs air from the splitter and guides it and directs it out behind the rear tires to clean the air up behind the front tire.
That's underneath the carbon fiber. Is that the sway bar?
That's the sway bar, yes.
Yep.
And it's all notched and 3D. That's all 3D printed. Everything you're looking at is 3D printed.
This is all 3D printed too?
All 3D printed, wet laid in carbon fiber. The whole front bumper right here, headlight, we call it like the headlight assembly essentially. All 3D printed, the front bumper's 3D printed. All these ducts, everything here is 3D printed. The only thing that's not is the splitter. It's a lasered out at a 1/4" aluminum.
This is wild. This.
Yeah, so there's no core support in the car. This is the core support.
That's why it's all bolted up like this.
Yeah, so this bolts to the frame, right? And then these billet tanks literally hold the whole front of the car together. It's a wild design. It makes it a nightmare to align. We've spent forever trying our best to align the car on a very short time frame. Everything has a purpose. Big thing we talked about on the car is everything needs to carry like what? Like dual purpose, essentially.
Yep. So I know we passed the back. I know we're back there, but I mean, if you look back there, I mean, it's something different to see, right? So you have the whole. If you look down here, this whole rear diffuser, like all these are billet parts, right? But this also is, you know, the whole concept was a dual purpose. So this is actually your fuel cell.
You got to go in there and tap it. That's what I do. Well,
No.
yeah, this is the fuel cell of the car. So it's hollow, 29 gallons.
So in order to make that possible, we're like, okay, how do we incorporate that? Because like we don't want you to lose trunk space, right? We want you to still have a trunk in the car, but if you want a diffuser, it's like you got to sacrifice your trunk space because you got to put your fuel cell in there, right? So, you know, I sat with Waylon and we trying to come up with a perfect idea for it, and we're like, well, why don't we just make it out of billet and make it the fuel cell
and hollow it out somehow.
So it started out with, what was it, 2,800?
Yeah, 2,200 pound block of aluminum, down to probably like 185, 6, something like that around there. 200, just call it 200 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta pop this open just so.
I've just never seen or heard anything like that. But why the Chevelle? Why this chassis to begin with?
No one's really done a Chevelle this extreme. Everyone's done a Camaro, a Mustang, you know. We're just like, I don't know, Chevelle. And I don't know, there's something about them, right? I would say.
So obviously we have the trunk out right now because it's all paneled like the interior, but we are in the Dynamat booth, so we wanted to display, you know, the Dynamat product, you know, because it's in their booth. And then we kind of, the guys over at Avant-Garde, you know, they spiced up the Dynamat in there.
If you want to get people riled up, take a look at that.
What's up, dude?
So we basically 3D scanned like a factory Ford, I believe it was. I think it's hilarious that it's a Ford. We put Ford tiers on it, but
yeah, it is a
we
Ford
3D
cap.
scanned it, reverse engineered that, and machined that out for the fuel fill. This is all 3D printed right here. The whole fuel dyed to pour gas into it. All Wiggins. Everything on this car is Wiggins as much as we possibly can.
You guys set out to build the wildest Chevelle.
Every day we're like, how could we make this more ridiculous though? It kind of bit us in the a little bit, but.
So another thing, I don't know if you noticed the cameras.
Yeah, why is there 2?
So there's no mirrors on the car.
Oh.
So when you turn your signals on, the opposite camera goes on. So you can see the lane. So when you go right, this camera turns on, you go left, this camera turns on, so you can see opposite lane, and it comes up on your, and it comes up on your dash.
I love driving my 996 turbo, but after a few weeks, the battery always goes dead. When it needed a jump start using the lead acid battery, I had to pop off the cover for the keyhole, open the door with a key, pop off the fuse cover, plug in the jump starter to the vehicle to open the front, take off the cover for the battery, then jump start the car. I can skip all of that with built-in wireless jump start. All I have to do is press this button on my anti-gravity key fob, and then I'm off enjoying my car. Was this just an exercise to promote the new shop?
Yeah, I mean,
to promote what you guys potentially could do?
Yeah, I mean, we're just like, you know, how can we? I didn't want to come out. I didn't want to come out with something, you know, something basic. We had the talent, you know, to make this possible. We wanted to really incorporate, you know, new technology into the build, and really display, how well that the new stuff that's relatively available now for everyone to use.
Just bring technology and show what you actually can do with it. 3D prints aren't necessarily just like prototype figurines on someone's desk. You could actually make stuff with it, and it's an end-use product at the end of the day. It's not all just FDM on your little Creality machine anymore, a Bamboo, right? Like there are machines that are $4 million. It's endless.
Yeah.
Like literally, it is endless.
I really like what you said about that. That really makes this a modern hot rod.
Yeah.
With the most modern technology, performance parts, but still a lot of old things too.
Yeah.
Old styling and old techniques.
We don't trust 3D printing that much to do the true wide body on it. We didn't want to have like a composite part bonded to metal, so it is still a coach built car. It's all
steel.
metal. It's all steel. So we still threw it back for that, because I think that's one thing that you could really never replace is that talent in of itself. There's no changing that. Even with the new machine, the Figure G15, there's no fixing this. There's no making this process easier. So we had no choice. And honestly, it kind of just, we're bringing, modern technology forward, but you still got to go back to your roots and respect like what it is, and to make this happen. And that's where the whole coach building thing comes into play, because we would be nowhere. This car would look like a derby car if we just 3D printed everything, right? Like you wouldn't have this.
So what we also, what Waylon mentioned, there is this machine, it's the Figure 15 machine, and what it does is it does sheet metal forming. Great machine, it just needs, it needs more time.
Yeah.
It needs more time to work. It's still new. But with that being said, the firewall, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's so much shape change, especially if you look at the driver's side, right? There's so much shape change in there. So we actually use that machine, that Figure G15 machine, to make the firewall. So the firewall was all made on that.
On the throttle bodies, there's pockets.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
all
firewall
pocketed out
that
in there.
allow the throttle body to sit in there.
I see that. it almost like it just dented in the metal. It's that perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then, how much of this did you pre-build in CAD or?
This whole car is
Alright,
pretty
yeah.
much done in CAD. I would
Everything.
say minus, headers and all the hard lines on the car, there's just certain things you can't. You could CNC bend hard lines, but sometimes it's a lot faster just to have someone that knows what they're doing to go do that,
So I'm assuming that portion of you guys designing it and putting it together, that took quite a long time before you even started printing anything, or did you have the chassis already?
Yeah, we were building the car. We were building the car until about 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So we were still 3D scanning on the car. I'm like, dude, how are we still scanning on this car? The SEMA was in like 3 days, bro. The timeline to do this was a year. I think we did pretty good for a year. Would definitely not be possible without 3D printing. We relied heavily on CNC machining and 3D printing a lot of things. I think it worked out, but it's a long one. It wasn't easy by any means. Just because it was done in the computer didn't make it any easier.
Doesn't make it faster.
It was rough.
This area too, the door. Oh my God.
Glad you're excited, because I've been waiting to see someone excited forever, because this car killed me, dude.
Yeah, so like the door is like, it's, same thing like the rear, it's negative. The door actually sucks in. So it's probably like 1.5 inches farther in than it would be factory. And then the top of the door is brought out to make that wide body. And if you really look down the line from the front, the wide body technically ends about here. This part of the car right here is stock width. And then from, I'd say about this point back, and from this point here, that's where the wide body is.
Yeah.
So it's this every panel on this car, as far as the body goes, was redone.
Yeah, there's really not much left of the stock car at all.
And the roof skin.
That's stock. No, the roof skin we changed, remember?
Yeah, we changed it, but it's still factory.
Yeah, it's still a factory. This is still a factory style, but from OEM, from the car, is this part right here. That's all that's left on this car.
And the interior, this cage, also 3D printed?
No, that's all
billet.
machined, yeah. So the harness bars machined, the B pillar is machined. If you notice, the A pillar is a wild 5-axis piece, all machined, bolted into this wild 3/16 4130 structure on the bottom. The door bars, if you want to take a look, are all machined as well. The roll cage was CNC design. It got CNC, bent and laser notched. which still took a lot of work. Just because it was done on the computer, it got us about 80% there. It was all fixtured out on our fixture table at the shop to get it into where it needs to go, because just because you tell it to bend at 90 degrees doesn't mean it goes 90. So there's still a lot of work. It's not just, you know, I feel like a lot of people might be like, oh, wow, computer could do it all. It's like, dude, it gets you 80% of the way there, if that. You know what I mean?
You guys have gone so far, this might as well just be a custom car.
Right.
From the scratch. You know, not even a Chevelle shape or anything. You could call it whatever you want. You can call it the Blazin Rod.
Blazin Rod.
Yeah.
It is the Blazin Rod. And then definitely, I mean, the interior, you know, that definitely can't go unlooked as well. That was done by Avant-Garde out in Palm City, Florida. Everything inside's 3D printed, like the whole dash, door panels, center console, the whole back half, everything's 3D printed. Those guys there are just
on another level.
On another level. They are.
So it has a clutch pedal, but no shifter. So what's going on with that?
Sequential 6XDX, 6-speed transmission. It's got a electronic actuator to bang the gears. So all you have to do is clutch it once. You could keep clutching it if you want to, but you just got to clutch it from neutral to first, and that's it. It's got a 4-disc RPS quad carbon clutch, so it's ready to party. It's got a PST carbon fiber drive shaft in it. It's got a Ford in it, Ford 9-inch in it. Ford 9-inch geometry, I should say. It's a TubeWorks billet third member. Made our own rear end housing. It's our own billet aluminum housing. It's on Series 30 axles from RCV. All 300M half shafts, 300M axles, 300M CVs on it. Series 30 actually goes on an Ultra 4 car, so we were like, put it on here because we don't want to break shit. You know, we break an axle on this, we're gonna take the car out. So we kind of made this thing a little over the top bulletproof.
I think over the top is an understatement. So then how much power are you hoping to make?
It'll make about 2,800.
2,800?
Yeah.
It's got a full-blown Pro Mod drivetrain in it, so.
So the concept of the car is it's a drag car with GT styling with a luxury car interior, with like a supercar interior, I should say. That was the whole premise of this car, is like, how do we incorporate something that's in a classic, has drag car power, looks like a GT Cup car and handles like one, and also gives you like your modern day hypercar interior.
That is so wild. And these wheels are crazy too. They definitely match the aesthetic of the car.
All the lip in the world.
What's the specs front and rear?
So it's 20s all the way around. It's running a 13.5 up front, 13.5 inch wide, and a 15 wide in the back. So the front ones are a 325, and the rears are a 345.
What's interesting for me is the seat choice. I understand these are BMW seats.
Yep.
With the nut buster.
Right?
It fits the car.
Right.
Avant-Garde definitely went in on that. All of that. They pulled that whole seat apart, restitched it, reperforated it, everything. It's bananas, bro. Honestly, Avant-Garde, if you ever get the chance to go there and interview them and talk to them, you'll trip out. You will trip out.
I knew this was going to be wild, but seeing it in person, it just gives me so much hope for future hot rodding.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, you guys just push that bar that much further.
I hope some people.
No, really.
Feel
I mean, we know you see a lot of cars, so I mean, for you to say that's, you know, it's really it's an honor for us to hear that from you, especially.
It is awesome. It's
cool.
crazy. I cannot wait to see it run. Is it pretty close to being?
We got it running. It ran for about 10 seconds. Yeah, we shut it down. It's a rough one, dude. At the last hour, we got it running for about 10 seconds. We were like, oh my God, it runs. Our guy shut it down to configure the transmission and went to go start it. Nothing. And he checked the PDM. Car's on Motec, and it's drawing 15 amps on the starter without even pressing the starter. So that thing welded itself shut. We didn't have time to put a new starter in it, and he had to go home. It was like 2 in. It was just one of those, dude, perfect storm. You know, we got it running. The car runs. I know it runs, you know? So for me, I won. For everyone, they won. Everyone won. It's just we didn't have time to sit here and pull the whole, you got to pull the whole front end apart to put the starter in. And then he still had to configure the shifter. And it was just like, let's just get the car together and get it to the show.
That's like if I had one more day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bro. Oh, yeah. If we had one more day, we'd have been solid.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a shame. It really sucks because we really wanted to put it in Battle of the Builders, but you can't do that if it don't run, you know? And it runs. We could say it runs. We'll walk it up on the starter, but the starter's locked up.
just to give you guys context, after Well, so we pulled it out with my truck out of their trailer. We just shot it, and now it's going directly into the show with not a minute to spare.
No.
Legitimately.
Yeah, the car literally they loaded up Saturday in Florida. Today's Monday, right? Yeah. They loaded up Saturday, and they left Florida at 7:30 at night and got here 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
And we just been nonstop.
Down
going.
the wire, dude, this whole car. We did this car in a year.
Both
Yeah,
cars.
Both cars in a year. Been run ragged.
I can't wait to see what you guys build next. Congrats. What a absolutely
Thank you
wonderful
for
machine.
taking pictures of it, bro. It was awesome.
It's just so cool. I would love to see it on the track or on some back road.
We'll have you drive it because I'm too scared to drive it.
I'm down. I'm down. I mean, I'm so careful with other people's cars, so.
Go crazy with this one. Beat it up. We hate it. We hate this car. Tear it up.
Nah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we
brother.
appreciate it. Thank you.